Jay McLean, baby.
True, you know, and it's about them solutions to break down those barriers. You know, it's levels of conversations now we're dealing with, because you know there are so much opportunity back home, yeah, but we don't have access. We don't have access. Yeah, and
What
I like what you're saying
for
about,
recently?
and I would call those people also gatekeepers. Yeah, they're the ones. Unless you're in, yeah, you ain't getting. And they the thing is, even when we look at what contracts look like, yeah, you know, it's very niche. You know, it's a sad reality. But these, I'm so glad that you brought this up, because these are the kind of conversations that people really do need to have, and I'm not having it at this level. Yeah, they're having it behind closed doors. Because sometimes when we wonder why things are not happening, why aren't we doing this? Why don't I see more black businesses? Why don't I see more manufacturing? Why don't? Because a lot of the times it's cloak and dagger. I said, yeah, and it's not always an even playing field for us. And entrepreneurs out there, if you're listening in, you know this is the reality what we're talking about here. Yeah. So those who are coming in for the first time and developing your business, it's not an easy playing field. It's not that we're not on the same playing field. So we do experience a lot of challenges. And when you're trying to explain this to people, yeah, I've worked for local authority government initiatives in the UK, and they've come to me time and time again, and sometimes their voices are not being heard. People don't understand the challenges of black businesses. Yeah, we have serious challenges that people think, well, it's not as easy. Oh, just get over it. No, you know, there's things that are in our way that are blocking us from growing, from sustaining, from finance. I remember having a conversation with a bank where it's a case they've already made up their mind about giving you finance even before you sit down.
Yeah.
I've got a second now. I mean, I own probably about 10 businesses right now that sometimes I'm on the bus and I sort of see, you know what I mean, that I own in London, right, in the UK. And sometimes I laugh to myself that I remember when we were setting them up, if I didn't have some really good, trustworthy, if you want, like white guys basically running the show, even though it's my equity, you know what I mean? If they knew it was me that was actually the owner, they'd be running a mile. They'd be trying to find a reason why it's just not going to happen. And it makes me laugh because this will never be my country. UK will never be my country. You know what I mean? Right? So I'm chill because I don't need to assimilate. My cousins don't need to assimilate. We just want to peacefully coexist. We're not at war, but we're just ready to peacefully coexist. And if you want a war with me, bring it. That's how we behave, right? But this point, one of the reasons that you think about you might be getting or feeling more if you want love in Dubai or the UAE is I think that the actual black experience and the principles of Sharia are a lot more aligned than the sort of Western principles of how money works. Again, it's about economic literacy. It's basically, you know, principles of Sharia is we want to be partners with you. We want to walk with you. We want to risk share with you. We want to take the downside with you, be there on the upside. That's a lot fairer. You know what I mean? There's a lot more handshake there. Whereas the Western principles of the way money works is we want to take you down.
Yeah.
We want to make a margin. We see you as an opportunity for us to make our margin. And my point is you're going to get more ups and downs and bumps and bruises in that sort of Western situation than you're going to get naturally sitting there in Jeddah or Riyadh or Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Oman, where it's it's your yields are less likely to be awesome, but your downside is probably going to be nil because the principles of Sharia are sort of there. And I'm not saying, I'm not here to preach anyone to come over from being a Christian or Catholic to be a Muslim, but I'm just saying that, you know, like Muhammad Ali, does that make sense? When he rejected his name, right, there was something that he sort of saw there as well in terms of maybe certain situations of that sort of faith, not seeing his color or making such a big deal of his color like maybe the Western civilizations are. But I'm not here to create a movement. I'm just simply saying that I'm not surprised to hear that some of the sisters on the call are saying that, you know, things are moving forward in a way that maybe if those here in the UK or in America, there may be a little bit more, you know, a bit market.
Yeah.
That's all. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
I feel, can I just say on what you've just said, Winston? I think it's because it's built much more on relationships as opposed to who you are. You know, I've done some work in the UAE and spent a bit of time in Kuwait, and it's much more about, you know, what you're going to bring as opposed to, you know, how much money are you going to make here. And that's why a relationship can die in the first kind of hour of meeting somebody there, because it's a matter of that trust, you know, and that integrity. It has to be a kind of a way you get a foothold in, and then you will build up on that reputation. Whereas here, what I've been noticing a lot, I don't know if you saw the you know, the police officer, I think she was a commissioner of some description, she'd given 30 years service or so, and she was recently, you know, her entire career has just been completely rubbished on the back of, you know, a photo or something in a WhatsApp message. I forget her name, which is awful of me. And it's that kind of thing. You can give your service here in the UK. You can give your entire, you know, working life and have a spotless reputation and do everything according to the book. And then, you know, the smallest thing that may not even be your fault, you know, they're very quick to come in and take you down. It is that whole thing of, I want to destroy your legacy, you know, and I think that's something, it's something that I've seen a lot here. It's that kind of insidious thing of, I'd rather do business with someone else just so that you don't have a legacy. You know, even if your service is brilliant, you're going to help them save money, you know, even if it's something that will benefit them some way, it's almost like, but I'd still rather take that business away from you to prevent you developing, to prevent you giving that money back to your community, to prevent you building generational wealth. There seems to be some unwritten rules here that I haven't seen in some other countries.
Sis,
You know?
I know you want to say something.
In the UK and in some of the Western countries, I don't think they even acknowledge the contribution or legacy, and that's what we keep seeing over and over again when they're telling people get out of our country. Things help to build, and that's one of the differences that I do see in the UAE, because you know the UAE is made up of a huge majority of expats. The majority is not the local Emirati people, but they are under no illusion that the city has been built, or Dubai specifically, has been built over the last 50 years. It's still very, very new, but they are under no illusion that it is with the help and the labor of all the other countries and the relationships they've built up. The British, the American, you know, whether it's the Asian community, because there's a massive amount of Asians here, whether it's Filipinos, Indians, Pakistanis, like it makes the economy go round. So if we all go home, there is no UAE. And I think in the UK, and of course we know in many other Western communities, they don't acknowledge that. There's not this kind of open dialogue of saying, do you know what, we're all one. When we were in need, you came to help us and so forth. You're our neighbours. In the UAE, we definitely get that. I don't think it's perfect, but at the same time, there's much more of a, even when, you know, so much stuff's been going on with Donald Trump and he's been saying whatever, here, you're not going to hear anyone tell you go home. That's not even a thing here. Everyone is from somewhere else here. And we all know that we're here to work, earn and build the UAE and take home and bring back to wherever we go back to on our own terms. And I think in the UK especially, we are plainly told you're not wanted here. whether it's overtly or covertly.
Yeah, on that note, it's such a good point that you're making. Look at Windrush scandal. All of that is still ongoing. I just want to big up to Teddy Snow, who put a gotKushTV comment. How do we get Winston to lead his own political party? I think I want to add all of the women.
Let me ask a question.
You need to lead also, because brilliant.
Let me ask a question to answer a question. So never trust a man, first of all, that uses a question to answer a question, which is, if you how do you make millionaires not be millionaires? How do you make billionaires become millionaires? It's going into politics in a system. Do you know what I mean? Politics is no longer a pure sport. So the worst thing you can do is go into into anything that is completely rigged on. It's just not your. Does that make sense? You can't. There'd be no progress. Why? Because I own Millennium TV, and it's like a child to me, right? But I don't own Sky. I don't own Fox News. I don't own Reuters. I don't own Bloomberg. So don't get me wrong. I could get people saying, if I wanted to be editorially how I want Millennium to be, I could be that guy. I could just get Millennium talking to an echo chamber. You know what I mean? Of people that want to look like me or sound like me, but actually, that's not quality broadcast journalism. Quality broadcast journalism has to ask tough questions, put the finger in the wound, of tough things. But political systems are not there to look after the electorates or the people. Political systems are there to look after the elites who support those political systems. So guys like me end up in a coffin early if I go into those sorts of situations.
That's deep.
Yeah. Can I just jump in here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, I was going to say to Master and Kai. Sorry, Master and Kai. I know that you may be strong for time right now. Are you still okay for time, sisters, or?
We
do
have another summit that we're on shortly. But I mean, for me, it's just been amazing. Sorry?
I said, do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah.
Both of you?
This is definitely a movement, not a moment, and that we all need to consciously work together to develop our generational wealth.
Absolutely. And Kai?
Yeah, I would just like to echo that and say, honestly, just go where you are celebrated, not where you are tolerated. It might not mean leaving the country, but it might be your workplace, your home situation, whatever you're in. Just think about being your absolute self. I think a lot of us are exhaling right now and talking about so much, and it is a lot, but just try to go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated, and rise. We're going to rise together.
Thank you so much. This is sorry, Sister Ari, I just want to shout out their social media platforms as well. And you mentioned Black Girls in Dubai. That's available. Let people contact you and connect. Let people write this down, make notes.
Absolutely. Black Girl in Dubai has over 100 black businesses here in the UAE, so do check it out. Hair salons, barbers, fashion designers, you name it, it's on there.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. And Marcia,
thank you for having us on.
Yeah, my Instagram handle has been Marcia McLeod, and also you can find me at my website, which is www.marciamcleod.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'll leave it to you.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Sister Mary B, your introduction was impressive. How many hands do you have?
Just the two at the moment. Just the two at the moment. But if anyone wants to offer me a spare hand, I'm more than happy to take that, please.
What is a mompreneur?
Yeah, tongue twister. It's, you know, it's a mum who's doing, trying to do what a lot of our entrepreneurs are doing anyway, you know. So there are millions of us, you know, worldwide, and it's people who have had children, and then more likely than not, probably I did the whole kind of 9 to 5 thing. But as a mum, you're always trying to find ways to balance that lifestyle. So being at home and for your children, but also still kind of being, you know, commercially minded and trying to expand. And then what happens is you find new solutions to do stuff, you know, and you're while you're maybe at home on maternity leave or whatever it may be, you're constantly looking at ways to find a balance. And that tends to lead into, you know, it's the natural mindset of an entrepreneur already, you know, trying to do a lot of things with the little that you have, you know. So it's kind of a natural segue into owning your own, because you say, well, if my boss can't accommodate, you know, kind of flexible hours or whatever, you just say, do you know what, why don't I just do this myself? You know, why don't I just do this myself? Why don't I look and see where the opportunities are and work around my family, you know? And slowly I've had the pleasure over the last kind of 8 years. I got into property. I started at Foxton's real estate agency, and from there I got a really good training. And that just whet my appetite into property and the world of property. And you know what's crazy? I've had this discussion with Stella several times. I was so blown away by the amount of Black property owners and people that were trying to kind of grow within that kind of, you know, the development side of things. There's so many Black developers, you know, building great properties, building, you know, enormous flats and all of that type of stuff, you know, huge properties. And I just saw a lot of opportunities, and they like to work with me because it's a sister, and I like to work with them because they're sisters and brothers, and there's just a natural kind of unspoken code of respect between us. And I just took so much from that. You know, this is not in any way to kind of dismiss my time at Foxton's, but there was a lot of racism. You know, there was a lot of racism on the floor, and that's something that pushed me into saying, right, how do I do this myself? You know, because there was always that feeling, but it was very, very obvious. It was very overt. You know, we need you here because you're doing really well for us over here, making us money, but we can't take you to management because then that means that we've got more Black faces around that board table, and we don't want that. You know, we don't want that. And they were really clear about that. So I took my skills, I took my efforts and time, and I kind of just propelled that into circles where, like the young lady said before, Black Girl in Dubai, you know, where I was wanted, as opposed to trying to bang on that door where it's just closed, you know. And then that's it. So yeah, that's an entrepreneur, is a woman who,
I've got a definition from ELP: ability to do things, raise a family, study, and be a boss.
I love that. I wish I did that.
Did you when you started your business, did you already have children?
Yes, I was a young mum, actually. I was a young mum. I had my eldest daughter, who'd be 20 next month. When I was just 19, you know, I was a kid. I was the age she is now. But at the same time, I think I've always had quite an entrepreneurial spirit. I've always had a business brain. I've always wanted to build some sort of empire and build legacy and all that kind of stuff. So that put it on hold for a little while. I had my daughter, and then I went back to study and that kind of thing. And around her, I started to dip my toe into business. I didn't really know what I was doing. You know, I didn't really have much guidance, and I came across a lot of the pitfalls that we spoke of earlier, you know, in regards to funding and lending and just finding the right type of support. And there was also something I found really strange, which was it's changing now, but then I found that older Black business people in businesses, they weren't as kind of forthcoming with the information. You know, it was a kind of attitude of, well, I've made it and I'm Black, so you go and make it, like, go and make it. You know, go and do your, you know. And I just found that really difficult. It wasn't that kind of that olive branch thing I found within my peers, my Jewish friends or my Asian friends. You know, where they
ask that. Yeah, because they seem to be more. They seem to have a more of a collective thing going on. They seem to be more supportive in terms of how they move.
Absolutely. And the thing with us as Black people, we need that, because we need to be able to avoid some of the pitfalls and mistakes because we've got a lot of time that, you know, we've had a lot of I don't know what you want to call it, kind of developmental, we've been held back, so we don't have time to be tripping up and making all the mistakes and people saying, yeah, well, you get on and do it yourself. We need those Black business owners that have made it or know the pitfalls to avoid, kind of encompass and surround and engulf and help us avoid those mistakes to get there quicker. You know, and I found I wasted maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years just figuring out business because I didn't really have a mentor. I didn't know how important it was to have a mentor, you know, to have somebody kind of showing you, look, this is how we can do this. These are the skills that you have. Let's try and put these skills to good use. Try not to do this, do that, you know, because it would have just made me get to where I am now quicker, you know, and not waste so much time just having so many highs and lows. It works across the board generally. As an entrepreneur, you're supposed to make mistakes and all of that and get back up and keep going and learn those. But I think when you're a Black business owner, some of those mistakes are so deadly, so costly to your long-term growth, that it makes better sense for us to kind of collectively support Black business owners and help them get to where they need to get to, so they can avoid those very pitfalls that may prevent them even, you know, may dirty their name before they've even had a chance to arrive, you know.
You think it's a lonely road out there?
Lonely? You know, that's a great question. I think that really depends on how you see things. I think it depends on the lens you've got on. You know, there are people who have very kind of vivacious personalities that won't find it lonely because they're always constantly networking and finding ways to kind of you know, put themselves out there. But there are very shy introvert entrepreneurs who don't find that, and they find it difficult to access support or support groups or, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, you know, entrepreneurialism by its very nature is a lonely place. You know, it's a lonely place because, and that is the mind of an entrepreneur. You're constantly thinking of you know, how to get yourself out of this and how to increase over here and your staff and your this. It's a worrisome place, you know, and all that's happened during this you know, COVID-19 is you've either sat there and thought, right, I need to diversify, I need to do this. You've seen it as an opportunity, or some people are still like a day in the headlights. They're still sitting there thinking, oh my goodness me, how do I survive through this? You know, businesses have to change. They have to change their MO, because otherwise you will be engulfed by this. This is a global epidemic. For Black businesses, this has been a great time to thrive because people have been looking for us. People have been deliberately seeking us out. And I think now that the consensus is really, how do we maintain that and keep that momentum and make sure it's not just a blip? Make sure it's not just under the banner of hashtag Black Lives Matter until the next brother gets killed on camera or the next sister gets killed by the police. We can't have it. That it's got to be constant. You know, we need to have, I don't know if it's I don't know, things like Millennium TV, which are absolutely awesome platforms. You know, we need to engage. These are businesses headed up by people that look like us. You know, we've got to not be afraid to make those connections and see how can we, you know, how can we advertise? How can we do this? How can we team up? How can we get together and just make this thing bigger? You know.
Thank you, Mary, so much for that key point. Mary and Winston, you've been absolutely fantastic coming on. Just a quick shout out so people can connect with you. I just want to say, Io Wallace has said, I agree with Mary. We need more intergenerational learning and sharing. especially when it comes to the different types of business structures and understanding pitfalls. Thank you for that point, Ayo. Wallace, big up to you as well for tuning in. So on the last point before you, just let us know how people can support what you're doing, how they can even connect with you. I know a lot of people have been excited by what you both said.
Fantastic. I've got quite a few handles, so what I'll do is I'll put one of them up, and if you contact me through there, I will definitely kind of lead you to some of my other businesses. So if you contact me at Instagram at Property Rebel, that's property_rebel, REBEL. Okay, and that's where I kind of got all my property stuff going on. If you're into property, or you're trying to get into property, if you want to get on the property ladder, or you're looking at an opportunity to buy without much money down or anything like that, please get in touch with me. I'll be more than happy to help you. If you're finding it difficult to get a mortgage, even if you've got really, really bad credit, come talk to us. We can do something. If you're looking at joint ventures, that kind of thing, again, please get in touch with us. If you want to invest back home in Africa and you're not too sure why, but you've got 500, 600, 700 pounds, again, come and talk to us. There are ways that you can do JVs and have a solid investment just growing for you. And so, yeah, come and talk to me, and I'll be more than happy to, hold your hand and get you whatever it is you need.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you.
Levels, King. I'm even reluctant to jump in the beauty of the conversation right about now.
This is Decipher, and these are our lovely panelists. African versus Caribbean versus British.
I'll say from African, is that no, you're not?
Everyone's Africanness comes innately. I went to Jamaica earlier this year, and I know I'm not Jamaican. They don't look at me as Jamaican.
Yeah. I don't like people just wearing a dashiki and wearing stuff and just saying, yeah, I'm African now. That's very fake to me.
You protect people, wanna claim Africa, like it's some superior, something. This being a semicircle, and you, the audience, completing the circle.